Now, I know you've addressed this on your show. Is is Deshaun Watson at his best good enough for the Browns?
Absolutely. Look, if Deshaun Watson is playing at his best, he would put up the 2020 season he had was like equivalent to like a Dak Prescott season last year. But it would be perceived in the same way we perceive Joe Burrow because we don't take Dak Prescott seriously because of his postseason failure. Deshaun Watson does not have that same thing. People forget before Joe Burrow was in the league, Deshaun Watson was who we talked about like he was Joe Burrow, right? He was the clutch guy. He was the young guy with the Midas touch, the guy who could fix everything. It's kind of how we viewed him. Obviously, injuries slash off the field situations have taken that from him and given that to Joe Burrow. But if he does play well, I mean, you're talking about somebody who can deliver in big time moments while also putting up the big time numbers. That's somebody who could get MVP votes if he's playing at his best.
So, do you think the 2020 season was overrated? Again, I know you've addressed this, so I'm
Yeah,
curious to your answer.
I used to think that the 2020 season was overrated because you look at somebody who wins 4 games and throws 4,500 yards, and you think to yourself, well, the defenses had to stink that year, and maybe it was a light schedule, and maybe he got the ball a lot because of how bad that defense was. They were just giving up big plays. None of those assumptions are true. The defenses he played, I mean, he played a pretty average schedule, not bad, not worse. So pretty league average roster according to rankings on passing yards allowed and rankings on PFF grade for coverage. So it's not like he played a bunch of bad secondaries. You go to that second assumption, well, maybe he got the ball a lot. That's absolutely not true. You know that the year that Deshaun Watson almost threw for 5,000 yards, the Houston Texans actually had the least offensive snaps in the NFL that year. So he did that while getting less than 100 total snaps on offense, which I think is impressive, right? And then you ask yourself, well, maybe he got all of these numbers while stat padding, right? It was all blowouts. They had a point differential of -5, so they weren't getting blown out a lot. Like those numbers are legitimate, and when you look into the 2020 season, you want to ask why they lost so many games despite having great quarterback play. Deshaun Watson had 33 touchdowns, 36 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Pretty good stat line. Did you know the Houston Texans defense that year, just the secondary alone, gave up 33 touchdowns and like 3 interceptions? Also, their rushing defense gave up 2,526 yards in like 25 touchdowns. Yeah, that's what, to be honest.
Yeah, again, it's interesting. You look at the four wins and you equate that, but when you go a little bit deeper, it's really interesting.